What's up, everybody? Lou Balzani here for TSSZ in Artist Alley at New York Comic Con 2017, and we have a special treat for you today. We're talking to Matt Herms, who you'll know as a longtime artist on the Sonic the Hedgehog comic series at Archie. Matt, thanks for taking some time out today. How is your show going so far?
So far, so good. Yeah, no, it's been busy. New York Comic Con's a lot of fun. This is my second year tabling here, always splitting with Jennifer Hernandez, and it's a wild show. It's super crowded and exhausting, but a lot of fun.
That about sums it up. So to kick things off, I want to get a little bit of perspective on your experience in the industry as a whole. How did you first get started as an artist in the comic industry?
My very first job was actually Sonic. So I was right out of high school in 2004, and I kind of had already hooked up and met with Ian Flynn, who would go on to write Sonic and everything. And he and I worked together on Sonic the Hedgehog fan comics back in the day. And so when he started working at Archie proper, writing stuff for Sonic, I was like, hey man, would you feel comfortable, writing me a letter of recommendation or something? And he was like, yeah, of course, so I sent in my stuff to the editor at the time, Mike Pellerito. And he kind of looked at my stuff and was like, well, this is unpublishable, but we're going to work with you. And, so I spent about a year or so, sending in portfolios, getting critiques and feedback, kind of developing from there, learning to draw it. And in the interim there, I discovered that I really liked coloring. So about a year or so after I had started working as a penciler on the book, they had a colorist position open up, and I jumped on that. I switched over to coloring and did that for 9 years.
And it shows in all the work that I think you've done since then. So drilling down into Sonic a little more specifically, can you talk about working with that brand and that IP specifically as opposed to some of the other things you've done, like Mega Man, Power Rangers, things like that?
It's always been just a really fun book to work on. I grew up reading the comic books. So for me, it was always kind of a very special place in my heart, because I was like, okay, this is the book I read when I was a kid. This is the book I read when I was growing up. It got me into reading. It got me into comic books, so working on it just felt really, really special to me, and it was a lot of fun every month, yeah.
It sounds like it. Do you have any specific work that you've done on the Sonic series that kind of stands out as sort of your personal favorite or something that has really stuck with you since?
Sonic Mega Drive is really special to me. That was one of the final things we did. It was so much fun, getting to do kind of a classic era Sonic story with Ian and Tyson Hess. These guys just are great at Sonic. So that was very special to me. Honestly, individual stories, the very, very first one I ever worked on as a colorist was Sonic 195, issue 195. And that was part of a cross, not a crossover, but it had all the Hedgehog characters. I think it was actually called the Hedgehog Havoc. And so it was all the Hedgehog characters that existed at that time. And it was just so much fun. There was all these characters packed in, all this great action drawn by Tracy Yardley, it's just one of my favorite ones. Yeah, I look back on it and I'm like, I don't know why they hired me to color that stuff, because it looks horrible, but I loved the crap out of it. It was so much fun. Yeah.
And you mentioned people like Tracy working on these comics together. Can you talk about sort of the collaborative experience of working with those other writers and artists to bring these books to life? Because a lot of them, even now with Sonic kind of switching hands over to IDW, they're still very much beloved in the community.
Everyone that worked on the Archie action books, honestly, we're kind of like a big family. Honestly, as all of our editors, all of our writers, all of our artists, for the most part, month to month, we wouldn't have a lot of communication typically, because honestly, deadlines and stuff, you're going through it. But part of that is also the trust and knowledge that everyone involved in that team really cares about that property, really cares about that book, is going to do an amazing job, and then when we have moments where we get together, at conventions and such, it's a big family kind of environment, we're always excited to be able to see each other. It happens so rarely, so they were all really great to work with, yeah.
And to kind of, what's been for us sort of the elephant in the room to kind of touch on that is Sonic moving out of Archie's hands and into IDW's. From your perspective, can you talk a little bit about what you were aware of when that switch occurred, if anything? Because from the outsider's perspective, it seemed like it all sort of happened pretty quickly and without a lot of prior knowledge for some people.
I believe for a while there was all the responses that were, like, oh, like, hey, like everyone is in talks. Honestly, as far as I know, like that is what was happening, is that talks were happening. And beyond that, not really a lot of knowledge on our end, like, because honestly, here's the thing, like, I color the books, so, like, I am very far removed from that level of discussion. So, yeah, that's kind of all I knew, so.
And now that that's sort of moved on in terms of where the property's going, you're clearly not standing still. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have coming up and what you're working on right now so people can keep an eye on that?
Sure, yeah. So I've been, the last year or so, I've been working on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, another licensed book at Boom Studios. That's been doing really well. I want to say issue 19 just came out, so we are hurtling towards that issue 25 milestone that's really big in comics. In the meanwhile, I'm still doing a lot of stuff at Archie Comics. I'm working on the Archies, which just launched this Wednesday, actually a couple days ago. New ongoing series following Archie, Betty, Veronica, Jughead, and Reggie as they deal with trying to form a band out of their garage and all the kind of tribulations that come with that. It actually guest stars real bands, like we're going to have Churches in issue 2 or 3, I think, and the Monkeys are going to be in issue 4. That just got announced recently. I'm also doing Jughead the Hunger, which is a horror series in which Jughead is a werewolf. That is a really dark book compared to what I've been doing before. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm actually teaming up with Ian Flynn and Tracy Yardley on Cosmo, which is a reboot of a very classic Archie character, Cosmo the Merry Martian. This one's going to be the Archie action style. So it's really fun to be working with those guys again.
I would imagine so. And just one sort of last question I have now that you mentioned it. You were talking about some stuff you're working on being a lot darker or a lot different than maybe what you're used to doing. Can you talk about some of the challenges maybe you face as an artist when you're tasked with kind of moving out of your comfort zone, let's say, when you're doing something maybe dramatically different than you're used to?
So, like, as an artist, like, honestly, it's a lot of fun just because it's new and exciting and different. I love the work that I did on Sonic, but I mean, like, Sonic was very much like I did it for 9 years coloring Sonic. I knew how to do it fairly well, and to do it quickly. And it was just kind of like, I'm in the action zone, doing stuff like the Archies, doing stuff like Jughead. It's very, very different tone-wise, there's some more mature stories, some more, different stories. Like the Archies is very grounded. There's not really there's not explosions and laser blasts there. So it's a lot of fun to get to kind of move out of that traditional comfort zone that I've been in for so long, experimenting with stuff. Like, there's honestly a lot of the books that I'm on, I'm kind of like learning new stuff as I go, which is very rewarding and very fun. I'm very grateful to all my editors that have kind of taken that risk with me. Because much like 10 years ago when I started, and probably shouldn't have really been coloring Sonic yet at that point. They are taking a risk because they're like, all right, like, we know, like, Matt's really good at the cartoony action stuff, but what if we put him on, like, the horror title for mature readers that's got graphic violence? Let's do that. Let's try that. So I'm very appreciative of that because that's a big vote of confidence, and I'm eager to try it out and show what I can do.
Looking forward to it. Matt Herms, thank you so much. And for all the latest from New York Comic Con, keep it tuned here to TSSE.